we're in. I will go ahead and make our intros here, and we'll dive right in, and we'll be having people joining us. There will be a recording of this, but we do hope that you can stay till the end. So today's topic, this is a marketing budget to help you to start, grow, and maintain your coaching business. So the primary obstacle today, you're going to discover the primary obstacle preventing coaches and consultants from achieving the success they really want. And you're gonna define for yourself today a marketing budget for a coaching practice and how to calculate yours, and 3 solutions for growing a successful coaching practice fast, and so much more. So a little intro for those of you who do not know us. I'm Jamie Scoltetti. My company is Upscale Your Business, and I'm a social media marketing strategist. I specialize in helping professional coaches and consultants systematize their business, maximize visibility, and attract ideal clients. And our presenter today is Mark Canty, and Mark's business is Release Dynamics. And Mark is a coach for coaches, and he and his company are dedicated to helping coaches and consultants to release their full potential by applying practical business and marketing strategies. And just one little final reminder, stay with us till the end. We've got an exclusive limited offer, and we want to make sure that gets to you and that you have the opportunity to take advantage of it, because it is, as I said, a limited offer. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop my sharing here and let Mark load up his slides. And, please post any questions you have in the chat as well, and I'll be fielding those, and I'll pose them to Mark as I can. So, Mark, with that, I'll turn off my camera and let you take over.
Great. Well, I want to do a quick mic check as well and make sure everyone can hear me. If I can just get you to just go ahead and type a quick 1 or a yes in the chat log, if anybody can give me some feedback and let me know if you can hear me all right. Yes, you can. Great. Thank you, Kurt. I appreciate that. And I'm assuming, yep. And Scott, this is good. Fantastic. I am so excited to be here. I just got off a quick Facebook Live, if any of you caught that, but was just saying that I am really excited and pumped about this particular session today. This is going to be the best of the year, I think, although maybe the best is yet to come. I'm not sure. So before, Mark is not on. Somebody's saying they can't hear me. Jamie, can you hear me? Okay. Defna. Mark is not on. You can't. Okay. Can everybody see me?
Yeah, that's a good question.
1, if you can see me and hear me. We don't want to get hung up. Okay, good. Okay, so we're getting some affirmations. Yes, you can see me and hear me. I think we're okay. So definitely, it might be on your end. You might want to check your speakers or your audio connection and see what's going on there, because we're getting a bunch of 1s and yeses here. It looks like people can connect with me. So we're going to dive in here. I'm going to share my screen with you. This may go a little weird for a minute, because I have to switch tabs. So let's just make sure this is going to work. It always does. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Where are we? Okay, you're going to see some really funky stuff for just a second, perhaps. And there's all the funky stuff. Okay, now we're going to switch. Okay. Once again, can you just confirm with me, you wonderful participants, just give me a 1 or a yes if you can see my screen. It should say marketing for coaches and consultants.
Yes.
Great. We got some affirmation there. And before I dive in, I just want to kind of set things up a little bit for you in terms of mindset. So everybody on this call is going to be coming from different perspectives. You all have different personal history and business backgrounds. So I want to just open some things up a little bit for you mentally here with a mindset idea for you. So when we read and we go to learning events, our brains tend to gravitate towards those things we know and we agree with, which is great. That's fantastic, because that affirms things that we know and that we agree with. But often our brains will also discount or shut off those things that we disagree with or that we don't know. So I want you to try and kind of balance your brain out and think about that. Just the fact that I've just said that will open up some neural pathways and actually open that up. And I want you to pay particular attention to those things you disagree with or you didn't know. If you disagree with something, usually there's some energy there for you. And that's typically where our best learning comes from. Because if we keep knowing what we know, then we just get caught in that loop. So it's diving into that area of the unknown. It's what we don't know. And what we know that we don't know then becomes something that we can work on. So I want to encourage you to think that way and to hang in with us all the way through, regardless. And even if if I get into some content here where you're going, this doesn't apply to me, make note of that. Push that thought aside and make note of it, because later on it may come back for you and you might just discover that, wow, that does in fact apply to me. So let's move forward on this. And, I'm going to preface this by saying that what we've found in the work that we do with clients is that most coaches struggle. The vast majority do. They struggle to make a living, and we want to talk about what to do about that. And this is one big piece of the puzzle for many people, I believe. Again, my name is Mark Canty. So let's move forward, and we're going to do a little bit of background. Now, I know, again, I just started in a different way, started talking about your brain and how it works, and I want to set up some underlying thought processes here. I want to get your brain working here, left and right brain. Many people would think budgeting, marketing, got to write some numbers down. It's all analytical. I just need to put this financial plan together and my world will change. That's one of the first problems that we run into, that many people have, is that they think everything is left brain and everything is analytical. We need to tap into both sides of our brain. So in order to do that, I want to give a little background, and you may identify with this. You may come from a different perspective, but I want to tell you a little story and see if this resonates with you, so that we can kind of take you from where you were to where you are to where you may want to be. So most of us, if we're a coach or consultant, we started at a job. We probably got some training. Maybe we went to university and we got some skills, and then we went out into the marketplace and we got a job. And at some point in time, we were happy and things were working and we were excited. Things got a little weird for us. And I'd love to use the sinus rhythm. Those who work with me know that I like to use the heartbeat as a metaphor for how our life and our business works. And our business is something that is living. So we need to think about it that way. So at some point in time, we kind of feel like maybe we flatline in the work and the job that we're doing. We feel like we're flatlining, or maybe we feel like there's something more out there. There's more life for us. There's more excitement. There's something more we can do. And we get this great idea that we have skills that we can share, and we want to serve and we want to help people. And maybe we want a little more control over our own destiny. Maybe we want to be self-employed. And we think, you know what, I want to be a coach or a consultant. And it's a great path, and I'm excited about it. So we launch out on our own and we become a coach. And guess what? Our heart starts going again. We get excited and we start to move, and we feel that rhythm, and there's fear, and there's movement, and there's excitement, and we're on the hunt, and we're out there and we're working. And very often, think about that peak in the sinus rhythm. We have a good start. Sometimes, we get referrals from previous employers, maybe from friends and acquaintances and people we know, and we're hitting this peak and we're hitting the road running, and we're going, wow, we're so busy. I'm just feeling fantastic. But then that warm market, if you will, starts to dry up a bit maybe. Or maybe we just never even hit that level and we get into a trough. And this can be both a financial and a physical trough, as well as an emotional trough. So we're experiencing that sinus rhythm. Now we've got some choices to make. So very often, unfortunately, what happens is we gravitate back to what we know. We're looking for that excitement again, but we're thinking, well, if I think back to the predictable, if I think back to my job, what I really want is consistent income. I want a consistent paycheck. I want to know exactly what to do. I want to be told what to do. I want a checklist. This now starts to look a lot more like a job again, doesn't it? Now, that's something that is somewhat natural, that we gravitate back towards the familiar, if you will. But in reality, what we're doing is moving into a backward place instead of moving forward into the career that we've decided to create for ourselves, which is being an owner. Okay. And quite often what happens at this stage in time is we go, well, gee, how do I do that? There's got to be a secret. There's got to be a magic bullet. There's got to be a miracle cure out there somewhere. You know, all these people I hear about online that are making millions of dollars and want to sell me their program, hey, they've done it. They must have discovered that magic bullet. So what is it? You know, I just want that one thing. And what do I really want from that one thing? I want to hit the jackpot. I want to win the lottery. And again, this is distorted thinking because it's taking us away from our path. We go from a job to basically starting to design our own life and take control of it, to wanting to go back to predictability, to really just wanting to win the lottery. And we lose track and we get stuck. Give me some ones if you can identify with this. Sorry, I jumped ahead. Anybody identify with this story? Jamie, you're going to have to give me feedback because you know I can't.
Oh, yeah.
Is this making sense? Can you see people? Can this relate to you? Come on, guys. I want you to be participants, not spectators here. Anyone's? Nobody identifies. Nobody's gone through a job where they went out to be a coach and struggled. Why are you on this call? You're here for a specific reason. You've got to identify with some part of that story.
Okay. Makes sense. We've got to make sense. Good.
Makes sense. We got to make sense. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me tell you another story and take you through. This was those of you who are like me, you know, I'm going to date myself here. This comes from Earl Nightingale and his story from the I can't remember the audio tape program now. But Earl Nightingale tells this story about a fellow who's stuck out in a terrible storm and he's trudging along and he sees a wood stove and he's going to freeze to death. And he comes across this wood stove and he says, I'm so cold. I'm going to die if I don't get some heat. Please give me some heat. And notice what's in his arms. And the wood stove, of course, says, sure, just give me some wood. And I'll be happy to keep you warm and give you all the heat you need. And what does he say in response? No way. Give me some heat first, and then I'll add the wood. So this mindset is what happens when we shift into this, or maybe we never even shifted out of this mindset of being in a job or being an employee. We're thinking about ourselves as the saver. If I just save things, then I'll be safe and I'll be secure. And there's fear too that causes us to want to hold on to things. The challenge with that is that doesn't work too well when you're self-employed, when you're an owner, when you're a coach that owns his own coaching business. You need to start thinking like a business person. And you need to think instead of like a saver, you need to think like an investor, because savings don't go anywhere. They just sit there. And particularly in today's market, they don't accumulate a lot of interest either. Yet investing appropriately is where you're going to get your ROI. So we want to move forward with this business mindset. Okay. What can you do about that? How can you shift? Well, you need to start thinking like a business person. You need to educate yourself as a business person. You need to figure out all the components of what your business looks like and how it's going to work. You need to think about your plan. What is your plan? What is your business plan? So let's dive a little deeper into your business, and then we're going to transition into marketing. So I'm going to, again, ask you to be participants. You know, we've all got a choice. And the problem is most people in the world choose to be spectators. That's why we pay millions and billions of dollars to professional sports teams, because we love to sit in our lazy boys and drink our beer and not play and grow our beer bellies. I'm going to encourage you as a business owner to step out onto the field. You need to be a participant. And I want you to participate in this workshop here. So and that's the best way you're going to learn, by the way. So let me play this exercise with you. And this time I want some responses. How much of each dollar earned do you expect to put in your pocket? So for every dollar you bring in, how much do you expect to be in your pocket at the end of the day?
Well, we've got a 50%, another 50%.
Okay.
Maybe less, 60%, 75%. Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great. And you know what? I'm really, I want to give you a little personal history here. Years ago when I used to do live workshops with people, and I was working in the marine and recreational vehicle industries, and we would do these group seminars with people, and we would ask all the people in the room, and typically a lot of them were staff from these organizations, and we would ask them, how much do you think the owner puts in his pocket out of every dollar at the end of the day? And let's just for fun, play with me here. What do you think most of the people in the workshop said? How much did the owner put in his pocket at the end of the day? How much did he keep?
We've got 80%. Another 80%.
Great. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting there. What we found after doing this workshop with hundreds and hundreds of people is the average was 95 cents. So the average employee believed that the owner kept 95 cents out of every dollar that came into the business.
Mm.
Pretty wild thinking, isn't it? So you're all coaches and consultants, so you're obviously a little more attuned to the business sense of things. So I'm glad to see numbers that you're throwing out there, like 50% for your own business. So I just want to throw this up to you. These are things you can research, and sometimes you need a reality check. So what is the net profit margin for industries? And these are from most profitable coming down. And I've just handpicked some of them here from some data that I pulled this morning. So in the accounting and tax preparation business, almost 20%. So almost 20 cents out of every dollar goes to the bottom line. What we're really talking about here is your gross profit margin before taxes, your gross profit. And you can go down this list and do your own research, but let's look and see if we can find, some of you may fit into this category, like management of companies and enterprises could possibly be you if you're an outsourced management consultant. You might be coaching or consulting dentists. Some of these industries might fit for you, but if we look specifically at other professional scientific and technical services, management, scientific and technical consulting services, these two categories kind of jump out at me and seem to fit the coaching and consulting field. So in reality, the average in the industry is around 10%, maybe 11%. Now that's an average. So what we're talking about then is an expense ratio in the neighborhood of 90%. So I'm just putting that out there for you to think about. And I also want you to think about too, and I'm going to do this on the next slide. This is not, by the way, this is not a template. This is just kind of a boilerplate space saver sort of thing. So don't take these percentages to heart. But you want to think about where your money is going. This is, I often refer to this as scorekeeping. If you don't know where your money is going, then you can't know where to apply your energy. So if you think about it this way, that, in this particular example, we've got 14% would be that net profit margin for you, or gross profit margin, depending on which way you look at it. But basically, that's what you keep in your pocket at the end of the day. But you can also add in your own wages. And do you pay yourself a wage? Do you think of yourself as the CEO of your organization? If you don't, I would encourage you to do so. And you can look through this and get an idea of where different expenses are. Obviously, for your business and the business that we're all in, it's a little different. We can go into this in more detail as people who need to develop a budget for their business. But I just want to put that up there to get you thinking again in this business mindset. So let's look at your organizational chart for your business. Actually, I got my slides out of order here, so this is going to be a little jumbled. I moved some things around this morning, and I didn't mean for this to be here. But we're going to go ahead and go with it anyways. You want to think about, first of all, finance. And this is where a lot of us get stuck. We neglect to bring this into play. So the finance portion of your business is the blood, the lifeblood that keeps your business alive. So this would come from your personal resources and potentially investors as well. Chief Executive Officer, responsible for achieving your strategic objective. That's you. That's where you need to be. And then if you think about all these other systems that need to be fulfilled in your business, you've got marketing or your client acquisition system. You've got fulfillment. So this is where you deliver on what you're selling, your retention and follow-up systems, and so on and so forth. So you want to think about how your business is organized and who's going to take on these different roles. So here's the challenge. How many people have an organizational chart that looks like this? Again, if you can give me some ones if you agree with this and you see this as yourself. And again,
We've got ones, yep. I also want to mention Scott put in a comment here, and maybe you can address this now or later. He said, I think as a solopreneur, there's also a gray area in terms of what's a business expense and what's a personal expense.
You know what? That's a great point. And let's talk about that for just a moment. I would encourage you to not have a gray area, to really define this very specifically. And instead of a gray area, as a matter of fact, Jamie and I have had this discussion with different clients before around the area, what we call boundaries. So often when we get into business as a coach or consultant, our boundaries get blurred. And this is a boundary issue. We need to really start thinking very specifically about our business and running it like a business. So here's an example of a boundary issue. An example would be, hey, if a client calls me on a weekend, that would be fine. I'm more than happy to work with them on a weekend. They can call me after hours. They can call me anytime they want. That's a boundary issue, and that can be a real trap for your business to get into. Think about it this way. If you were, say, a consultant working in a firm, and you were working 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, would you expect clients to drop by your home on a Sunday morning and expect to do work with them? Probably not. So just because you're online doesn't mean your boundaries need to be any different. You need to set specific boundaries. And also, thank you, Scott, for the question, by the way, or the comment, is we need to think financially too, that we really need to get our mindset around this idea that we have a business, and we need to be able to turn that business off. We need to be able to step away from it so that we can have a balanced life, so that we can be present to those other people in our lives and the other roles that we take on as a parent, as a partner, as somebody, as a friend. These are all things that are important, and we need to set specific boundaries. So thanks for bringing that up. Back to the organizational chart. This usually really resonates with a lot of people. I got to give somebody credit for this. When I first saw this, Rich Schefren showed this to me years ago, showed this to a whole bunch of us in his training, and it blew a lot of people's minds because we all went, wow, that's scary. So I also want you to think about it this way. How many successful businesses do you know that have an organizational chart like this? I would expect you to say none, because I certainly don't know of any. I don't know of any businesses out there that are truly successful, balanced, people who are fulfilled and happy, that are doing everything themselves. It just doesn't work that way. And again, you know, the principles where we get into trouble sometimes is we think because we've got this thing called a computer that all of a sudden the rules don't apply, that we're in a different world that doesn't apply to us. But I often come back to brick and mortar. Think about a brick and mortar business. Take your business and think about it as though it's brick and mortar. How would it work? What would the organizational chart look like? Let's say you open up a storefront. Would you run the till, handle the phones, do all the sales, open and close the store, clean the floors? What if your store was open 7 days a week? What if it was open 24/7? Could you even physically do it? Of course you couldn't. And you can't do it with an online business either. So think about that. There are different, and I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into this. There are basically 12 critical areas for marketing your coaching or consulting practice. And this is kind of just an overview of those. Content, you got to create content, you have to list build, you have to have people, right? You need a list. And you got to keep growing that list. You have to manage your finances. There are technical skills that need to be taken care of, your hardware and also your software and those things that are going on. You need to have systems in place. You need to be selling. You need to have traffic, client relationships, market analysis, business building, legal and compliance, and affiliates. These are those strategic partnerships that you form that you can work with people on. So those are a few, but here's the challenge. This is what it begins to look like, especially when you're thinking, I have to do it all myself. I have to DIY everything. Can you see the overwhelm? Can you see the problem? I'll use another quote from Rich Schefren. Since when is having more to do the solution to having too much? It just doesn't work. So this comes back to the organizational chart that I showed you earlier. You need to start thinking about roles and what you do. And I'm going to quote Peter Drucker here. Do what you do best and outsource the rest. This is critical because we see this, Jamie and I see this over and over and over again with coaches and consultants, is they start out with great ideas and so much to give. And before they know it, they're overwhelmed. And 90% of their time, they're doing what they're not good at, what they don't want to do. It's not revenue generating, it's not fulfilling, and it's not living their passion or their purpose. So we need to flip that around. And the only way to do that is to start to build your team. And you need to realize that things need to be done outside of you. And this is a what to do about it. Again, my slides are a little over there. So let's talk more about what to do. Well, the first thing we want to talk about is clarity. So you need to get total clarity on what does business success mean to you specifically, and what is the ideal business model perfectly designed to achieve your goal. And this next slide, I'm going to go into and give you a little bit more about that, because this is where we can sometimes get incongruent, if you will, where we get out of whack. So what business design will get you what you want? And I want you to think about it this way, is if you're a solopreneur, you can run a pretty tight ship and have a nice lifestyle, okay? But you're going to have certain maxes with your revenue, and you're also going to be able to minimize expenses. If you want to really grow and get bigger, you'll probably need to have what we would call an associate consultancy or coaching business, which means you're going to have other associates. You're going to work with other people. You're going to start to build a larger framework, a larger business, and that's going to increase your ability. Why is this the case? And the third one you can see, if you really want to go into the millions of dollars, you're going to need to have an agency, what we would call an agency. The reason this is reality is because of what's called capacity. There's only so much you can do as one person. So you need to leverage yourself, and you need to figure out where you fit. Now, where we see incongruency often is people say, well, I want the no expenses or low expenses, but I want to make the millions. And that's incongruent. Now, the challenge is there's a lot of guys online and a lot of gals online that are selling you that myth that, hey, look at me, I'm on the beach in Thailand with my beautiful mansion, and I'm 12 years old, and I've made $5 billion this year, and I want to share it all with you. If it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. That's the reality of it. And those quick fixes, those businesses in a box that are going to bang out $1 billion for you, they simply don't work. That's winning the lottery mentality. So I want you to think about what your goals are. And this is where, we often go deep. And with our clients, this is what we do. We go deep into personal values and goals and the kind of lifestyle that you want to build. Because the incongruency can also come in play where we see these guys and we say, gee, they're making millions and billions of dollars. And we get this idea that maybe they only work a few hours a week because they're taking a picture in front of their yacht in Thailand or whatever. And that's not reality. These guys are go-getters. They work hard. I won't bother naming any names now, but I know a few of them and know the lifestyle that they live, and they love their lifestyle. They're hard drivers. They're often working 12, 16 hours a day, and they'll do it day after day after day because they love it. They're passionate about it. But they'll also tell you that their family structure, their personal life and things like that can either suffer or has to be a certain way in order for them to live that way. So I want you to think about your business design. And what do you really want out of life? So you need to look at this first and say, where are you now? So what's your gross revenue? And we're going to transition into budgeting now. And then you need to think about your capacity. This is another incongruency that Jamie and I often see. So an example, and my numbers may be off, but Jamie, you may recall the other day we had somebody that we were speaking to or had filled out one of our forms, and he said, I'm making $50,000 now, and I want to make $250,000 next year. Great. So he wants a 5-fold increase in revenue. When we asked the question of capacity, he said, I've got 25% capacity. I can take on 25% more business in order to make that 250. On top of that, the third question was, well, how much are you willing to invest in your business to outsource, to market, to get other people to do other things? And I think the answer, Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like $1,000 or something.
That's correct.
Incongruent. You just need to pause for a minute and say, does this make sense? Put your business hat on. Think like a business.
Or if I may just jump in for a second, the other kind of incongruency in relation to that, let me put on my camera just real quick so you can all see me, is that, we'll ask them, okay, they answer those questions, but so what do you charge? Like, can you get to that number? And because they don't think about how many clients would you need to get to that number. So if you're charging, let's say you want to get, you're at zero now and you want to get to 250,000 and you charge $500, let's just say, they don't realize they need like 400 clients. Can you serve 400 clients? So then maybe it's your pricing, so I just wanted to mention that. So there's a lot of incongruency there.
Excellent point. And this is where, the idea of marketing, if we think of the 4 P's in marketing, one of the P's is pricing. So we need to think about these things and where we are. And if we're not achieving our goals, what's happening there? And people put way too much emotion into pricing. And they also, what we work with people on too, is many people look at pricing as an external factor. In other words, the first question they ask is, what are people willing to pay? That's the wrong question to ask. So let's move forward on this. So we got three things. Benchmark is we got to fly because I've got a lot jammed in here that I want to throw at you, and I want to make sure we've got lots of time for Q&A. So benchmark, where you are now, jot that down. You got your pad, you got your notepad on the screen, or maybe you got one in front of you. Where are you now? What's your gross revenue? What's your capacity? Now, that's kind of one of those things that can be, I'll use Scott's term here, a gray area, because your capacity personally might not be able to allow you to achieve your goal, but that means you need to think about how you can increase your capacity. And that's often through leverage and leveraging others. And there's other tools that you can use to leverage in your business too. So the other thing to jot down here is where you want to be, your gross revenue goal. So we need to think about that when we come to establishing our budget. So I'm going to use some tried and true numbers here for you. This was produced by the Small Business Administration, and you'll find that these numbers have been pretty consistent for a number of years now. Again, tried and true. We need to look offline in order to apply it to online. Your marketing budget for any business, any small business, if you will. Typically, about 10% of gross revenue for a business that is chugging along and doing well, they're going to invest about 10% of their annual gross revenue. If they want to ramp up efforts, obviously, if 10% gets you what you're already getting, it's not going to get you any more next year. So if you want to earn more next year and you want to ramp up, you need to be thinking 20 to 30% of gross revenue. And that's the gross revenue you're shooting for, not what you're achieving now. So we want to think about those numbers, okay? And the other thing I want to put in here too is if you're a launch or a startup, these numbers kind of go out the window because they get a whole lot bigger. If you're a launch or a startup, you may very well anticipate spending 100% or more of your revenue in order to launch your business. And there are many, many examples of this. Many very successful businesses have done that. In other words, they've said, we're going to spend $1 million to get $1 million in gross revenue for this period of time, because we know then the customer value extends beyond that, or our ability to grow. And think of it like a rocket ship where you put all of your energy and your money into launching, not all of it, but 90% of it into launching the business. And once you get up into space, then you can maintain. So we want to think about that. So let's do some practical exercises here. And I like to use this number because I think it's a very reasonable number. Let me tell you a little bit about why I use $200,000 as practice. In our world, and I'm going to say our world meaning North America, in the United States and Canada, if you're going to be a coach or a consultant and you're going to view this as a full-time career, which you need to be doing, this is your job, your new career. I should take that word job out of there, your new business. I believe that probably the minimum you want to be looking at is $200,000, because any less than that, when you take out expenses and you start to work that, it really whittles down quickly, and you're probably better off actually, going out and getting a job. So if we take that and we look at a startup or launching a new practice, you're going to want to budget, let's say, about 30% of that $200,000. So what we're talking about, launching your business. Excuse me, a little drink there. 30% of $200,000 is $60,000 or $5,000 a month. Now, I would suggest to you that that's probably a minimum for launching your practice, depending on how competitive. These are general numbers, because you might be going into a competitive space. You could be going into a space that has lower fees or higher fees. Whatever it is, you would want to adjust for that. If you're looking at ramping up your business, let's say you're currently at $100,000 and you're saying, you know what, I got 100, but it's just not enough. I've got all these expenses on top of that, and I'd be better off working for somebody else. I'd be better off going back to that company and, being a consultant there. I would be better off being an engineer again, being an accountant again, whatever it is in the field that niche that you've chosen, that audience that you're addressing. So if we have $100,000, we want to add $200,000 to that. Then you want to budget 20 to 30%. That would be $40,000 to $60,000 in addition to whatever you're spending now on marketing. Hopefully these numbers make sense. So you got that $100,000. What are you spending to earn $100,000 a year right now? Add $3,000 to $5,000 a month to that number in order to get that to $200,000. Maintaining your current revenue. Let's assume that you're earning 200,000 already, and you just want to maintain it. You go, I'm happy, my practice is going well, but I see that there could be some valleys coming due to changes in the external environment or whatever. So I want to make sure that I'm always keeping my funnel full. I've always got people coming to me, and I'm able to maintain my business. So in this case, you're going to budget. Again, we're going to use the Small Business Administration numbers of around 10%. So you're going to invest about $20,000 a year or $1,700 a month. And again, that's for an established practice where you've got it going, you've got referrals coming in, you know that you're doing well. So in a sense, think about this budget as your goal to get to, that plateau where you're happy and your business is working well. So a special note here, many people come into this and they look and they try and cheat. They try and manipulate the numbers. So we talk to people who have low or no revenue, and they think that they can start with maybe a maintenance budget or even less than that. So Jamie, how many times do we hear the comment of, well, once I get some clients, then I'll be willing to invest more in my marketing?
Quite frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it comes back to that, the wood stove story is you can't get heat unless you put the wood in. You got to have the fuel. And in this case, the fuel is your marketing budget that's going to drive and build your business. So you can't maintain what you don't already have, and you can't grow with a maintenance type budget. So you need to start thinking this way. You need to start thinking like a business person who's going to grow their business. So I want to throw in a bonus topic here, because many of you are probably sitting there saying, this is fine and good, but I'm struggling. COVID's hit me. I'm scared. I'm frightened. I have so much money in the bank and I don't want to tap into that. I'm worried about, will I ever, retire, if you ever want to. I mean, many coaches and consultants say they never want to retire. But the reality is you're probably in a situation where you're looking at, I just don't know what to do, and I'm very fearful, and I don't want to invest in my business right now. Well, the challenge with that is if you're not investing, if you're not growing, then you're dying. And in today's environment, that can be a real challenge. So let's go through this and think about this again. We want to put the business hat on. Access to capital is not an option. It's a critical resource to survive your startup and to thrive through growth. So you need to start thinking this way. You wouldn't open up a hamburger stand and go, well, I've just got a little bit of money and, I didn't make enough revenue. I guess we're just going to walk away. No, you'd have a plan, and you'd know how long it would take you to get payback and get ROI and to grow your business. The same thing with your coaching and consulting. Start to think about it that way. You need capital. So where do we get capital? You have to have a financial plan. So here's the first question. Does your business, sorry for the typo there, does your business have a high level of growth potential because you can help a lot of people during the current climate? Does it? Let's get some ones in there. How many people say one to that? I would expect to have a lot of ones. I wouldn't expect you to be on this call if you don't believe there's high growth potential and that you can help a lot of people.
We've got some ones coming in.
Great. Because if you can't, then I want you to check your knowledge of your industry and your niche. You need to do some research, get those emotions out of the way, and start looking at what people are doing and how you're going to design your business and how you're going to design your business so it has high growth potential and you are serving people who need it. And you also need to check your beliefs, because that's typically where you're stuck. So get out of yourself for a minute, get out of your emotions, start to do some research and build your confidence and your beliefs in what you're doing and who you are. The best investment you can make is in yourself, especially in terms of uncertainty and volatility. I had a great conversation yesterday with a consultant about this, and we just had a really great rapport going, really resonated with each other. And this is something that we were talking about, is the fact that now is the time. So many people are sitting back and crossing their arms and going, well, I'll wait. Well, guess what? When you wait, then you'll be playing catch up, or your business will be dead. Now is the time. It's in times of uncertainty and volatility is where opportunity lies. That's when people need leaders. That's when people need coaches and consultants, because those are the people that stimulate thought and get people moving. That's your job and what you need to do. Now, if you don't know or believe you have a high growth business, or you don't have a desire to grow and serve an audience, then I would suggest you keep your money in the form of cash and precious metals right now, at least for the time being. until investment opportunities present themselves. If you don't have money, that's the alternative to this, then go get a job. Now that's harsh, that's tough love, but being in business is not easy. Nobody said it was easy. In fact, I believe it's probably the hardest job in the world because you're drawing deep. I also believe it's the most fulfilling job in the world. And I believe personally, and I believe this really at a core level, that this is the way to self-actualization, is by being in business for ourselves and being self-employed. Even if you're in a company, you can still be self-employed. You have to have that mindset. So this is harsh. This is tough love going on here. But what I suggest you do is step up or step out of the way, because there are people out there that want to step up and you need to be one of them. And again, step up. Think of it like a business and go for the gusto. Okay, so where do you get the money? How do you build your financial plan? Well, first of all, you want to look at your own assets and your own resources. What can you do? Lines of credit and loans. You may be able to get a line of credit that is actually unsecured or unattached. And that's if you're an established business, you'll probably need at least 2 years of business history, maybe 5. And you can sometimes negotiate 10 to 20% of that average revenue as a line of credit. So for example, if you had $100,000 in revenue, you might be able to tap into $10,000 to $20,000 into a line of credit. Business assets can also be used as collateral. Maybe you've got some assets that you can leverage against. Also, keep in mind the current climate that we're in right now. Sorry, Jamie, I know that you don't like me talking about COVID, but the reality is we're in a current climate right now. And hey, if somebody watches this a year from now or 2 years or 5 years from now, although I think we'll still probably be in this climate for the next few years, there may be stimulus available. And we know there's stimulus available. There's loans available. There's relief loans. There's stimulus loans. So again, crisis means opportunity. Those loans are available to you to invest in your business. There's often small business loans too that you can get. The BDC in Canada, the Small Business Administration in the United States will often offer low interest and favorable payback terms. Again, in this environment, there's some new opportunities out there. There's some new programs around, so you might want to look at that. Credit card increases to your credit limit. You can talk to your bank. Right now, I know in this current climate, many credit card companies are actually allowing for deferral of payment, and some without interest. Shop the credit cards, by the way. They're very competitive. Also, you can often, if you've been with a credit card for a long period of time, particularly if you've got, one of those fancy ones, like a Platinum card or something like that, or an American Express, you can often call the company and say, hey, listen, I want to use this as a line of credit. I'd like to negotiate a different interest rate and a different term with you. You would be surprised at what you can get out of a credit card company. Most people don't even try. They just think they have to pay the posted rate. It's not true. You can dig deeper. Short-term capital from an investor. How about love money? What we call love money. Who believes in you and your talents and your skills? Again, if you believe in yourself and you believe in your business, why wouldn't you go to those people who believe in you? At this time, capital from a cold investor, so just trying to raise capital that way, is going to be difficult. They're looking for a high return right now because they view everything as a high risk. But if it feels right, then don't worry too much about it, because you're going to use this for a period of time to accelerate the growth of your business. So realize that, and realize too that you're going to need a plan. You're going to need to have a business plan with some specific numbers, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. You need to do that homework anyways. Now, another way that you can raise capital is through your existing audience, through your existing clients. This is where a lot of people fail. Is if you already have paying clients, now is a great time to do value-added work that you can get paid extra for. So what we're talking about here is an increase in what we call lifetime customer value. That's always your goal in any business. But this is the best time to really focus on selling to those who know you. They know you, they like you, and trust you, so they're most likely to buy from you again. So think about your existing audience, what you're doing for them now, and what you can offer more to them. And you've got to believe in this. You've got to do this enthusiastically and with that passion that, wow, if you invest a little more with me, I can get you multiple returns on what we're doing. So the best money always comes from providing more value for your audience and your community. So we're going left brain here now, folks. We're thinking like business people. How do I capitalize my business and make sure that I have capital in place for remember the sinus rhythm, for the highs and for the lows, for the startup as well as the growth, for the maintenance? All of those things require capital, and you need to have that in place. Now, where to invest this money? So I'm going to run through this with you. Again, I'm sorry I didn't do this paragraph by paragraph. I don't want you to get overwhelmed by this, but now that you've secured some short and long-term capital for your business, I want you to think about this allocation. First of all, there's your cash reserve. You want to start to think about reserves for your business. So in business, we call this retained earnings. So where are you going to retain your earnings? Open up a separate bank account if you have to, because the more money you have in the bank, the more opportunities that will become available to you. The reality is you're probably starting with zero. So once you raise that capital, let's say you raise $50,000 to grow your business. The first thing I suggest you do is set aside 10% of that. Set aside 5% into a special account that's going to be your cash reserve account. And then every time you sell a contract, every time you get something from a client, take 10%. Let's say you're selling a $5,000 service. Take $500 of that, any revenue that you make, and place that into your cash reserve account as well. And start building up that reserve. It's going to do multiple things for you. One, it's going to make you feel good. It's going to make you confident. It's going to take away your fears. It's going to remove a lot of those insecurities. Second, it's going to allow you to leverage that. When you show that, if you go to borrow more money and you've got that as a nest egg, as something to leverage against, that's going to allow you to do that. So often you can leverage, multiples of whatever you have in a secure account. So think about it that way. Second, invest the balance, so the 90% of your capital that you're raising and that you're earning, in 90-day growth strategies. Now, I'm specifically addressing businesses, and you wouldn't be on this call if you didn't want to grow your practice. So I'm not talking about maintenance here. I'm talking about people that want to take it. They need to get it up to a proper level of earning. So you want to look at things in quarters, okay? So 3 months at a time. A lot of people get thrown off by making their goals too short term. In 1 month, I want to make $100,000. It just doesn't work that way. That's winning the lottery mentality. You've got to think like a business person. So do your planning over quarterly periods. And also measurement comes in. For example, if we launch a marketing campaign tomorrow, you're really not going to know the true results of that for 90 days. Because you're going to have to work that over a 90-day period. So invest in quarterly growth strategies, quarterly campaigns. Understand what the return will be and how it will add stability to your business. So you want to develop, the special note here, a strategic plan first, okay? So don't mistake get rich quick fast tactics or fake tactics for a true strategy. So you want to think about the year or years, and then you want to break that down into quarters in order to achieve that growth over a period of time. Don't get hung up on the cost of money or the interest that you're paying. Yes, you may be needing to pay a high interest amount, but remember, your goal is to make this money work for you. Over the long term, it will return multiples. So for example, if I invest $5,000 in a marketing campaign, and it wins me a $5,000 client, some might look at that and say, well, that was a failure. I wouldn't look at that as a failure at all. I'd say that's a huge win because just one client paid for my entire campaign. Now, through taking into account my lifetime customer value, I'll be able to not only gain more traction, more revenue from that existing client as I serve them, but it'll also help me launch into getting the next client. So you can see how these things leverage. This is where a lot of people get into trouble too, is when they think back to their marketing budget, they say, well, I'm willing to grow the business, so I'm going to invest 30%, but I'm expecting to get a return on that right away with the first sale or in the first month. You've got to think about this as a compounding idea. Again, business principles. Number 4, invest in system design first and ad spend second. What do I mean by that? A lot of people run out, we see this a lot, Jamie and I, where people run out and they blow their brains out on things that aren't systematized. So they'll run out and blow their brains out on a bunch of, say, Facebook ads or Google AdWords, or they'll even do something even worse and crazier, which is invest in, and it's not even an investment at this point in time, they'll rebuild a website, total non-revenue generator. Don't make that mistake. Don't fall into the trap. You'll be burning up cash or credit so fast you won't even know what's happening. So what you want to do instead is spend your money on something that you know is working. So a campaign or a funnel that you know is working. So first, invest in the system that's going to do that for you. Then measure and monitor, use your metrics to tweak and adjust, and then build upon that system that's already working for you. Invest in experts, the people who can help you develop strategy and systems. Don't use up valuable cash or credit hiring a team or outsourcing when you don't have a specific winning plan for what you need them to be doing. The bottom line, use your financial resources on things that are working and have a high probability to continue working. I want to read one little thing for you here, and then we'll wrap up quickly. So this is a piece that that we work with at our organization. I just want to read a little bit here for you. The real difference between outsourcing and outtasking. In order to be successful online, you simply must learn how to outsource effectively. Unfortunately, most people are approaching outsourcing all wrong. Their flawed thinking begins with the very first question that they ask themselves when considering outsourcing. Most struggling internet entrepreneurs ask themselves, where or how can I get this done the cheapest? That's the kiss of death. Wrong question. The answer to the above question leads to a lot of disappointment, frustration, missed opportunities, and heartache. The reason why is that it displays a deep level of ignorance about what makes a business successful. And frankly, the question borderlines on the absurd. Let that sink in for a minute. That comes back to that slide that I showed you about thinking like an employee or a job or a saver as opposed to an investor. Would an investor go out and say, give me the lowest possible return. I want the cheapest possible return there is out there. Or would he go for the max? This is what we need to think about. So which question are you considering and ask yourself, which question are you asking yourself when considering outsourcing? When you ask the question, where or how can this be done the cheapest, you are taking an out-tasking approach. So this is heady. Think about this for a minute. Outsourcing versus out-tasking. What you're thinking about when you're thinking about out-tasking is like a VA. Somebody that's going to do things that you do that you don't need to be doing, but that are very routine and very easy to do. That's not what you need to focus on when it comes to outsourcing. You need to focus on talent. Your focus is on, in this case, on out-tasking. It's getting an activity done. When you take this approach, you're forced to continually going through the selection process each and every time you need a job done. You see how it's not systematized? This is called outsourcing turnover because really it's out-tasking, which when you consider the total amount of time you dedicate to finding and selecting a person, it can really add up. And makes this approach even worse is that there is always a greater risk in dealing with a new outsourcer than an outsourcer that has a track record of delivering as promised. Outsourcing is about developing long-term relationships with people who have expertise outside of your own. Don't look for people who are yes men, who tell you what you want to hear and tell you everything you know. Remember how I started this? Think about things that you don't know. Go into the unknown. When it comes to outsourcing, you need to be hiring that helps to offset your weaknesses. So instead of trying to overcome your weaknesses and DIY it all and learn everything, focus on your strengths and hire people who can complement the areas that you don't know a lot about. One of my mentors put it this way: know a little bit about everything and everything about something. That everything about something is your core competency, your strengths. That's where you come from. And we're just going to wrap up here. The question is, are you ready? This is a big question. Are you ready to create and implement a strategic marketing program? Are you committed to building a business that works? Are you ready? Now, if you are ready, we've got a special invitation for you. In 90 days, we're going to help you get to where you are attracting the kind of people who get it, want to do business with you, and pay you what you're truly worth. Then we'll implement everything we created together so you'll have a coaching and consulting business that works. Now, first thing we're going to do, we're going to gain crystal clarity: who you are, your unique strengths and core competencies, what you want from your business, the business design and strategy that's going to help you achieve that. Then we're going to map out a massive action plan, and then we're going to implement it. We're going to create an offer that attracts the right kind of client. We're going to help you identify your minimum viable audience, people who will get that offer and who want it. We're going to help you with messaging to communicate and attract the right kind of people. And we're going to implement all of this. In other words, we're going to help you branch out and build that organizational chart into a business that works. So I want to tell you that we work very exclusively with just a few people at a time. We limit this to 5 coaches, and that's it. Every time we do this, we do 5 coaches at a time. That's our capacity, because Jamie and I work hands-on, one-on-one with you all the way through this. You can apply now, hopefully in the side screen. Jamie, have we got that up now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the side, you'll see the application. You need to qualify. So we're not going to pitch you. Instead, what we're going to do is have a great conversation to see if there's a fit and to see if we can help you and if we can serve you, because we're in this for the long haul. And we want people who want to build a lifestyle and a lifelong business, a career business, a professional business, a coaching and consulting business that works. So we're going to have some conversation, and we're going to figure out whether there's a fit between the two of us and that we can make this done. Because Jamie and I don't want to make this promise to you. We don't want to dive in and get into bed with you, if you will, unless we're committed in the relationship. So if you are, and we go through that process, then be prepared to go deep and take all out massive action, because we're going to push you and we're going to hold your feet to the fire to get the job done. And we're not going to give up on you. So we don't want you to give up on yourself, and that ain't going to happen. So click the apply now button if you want to talk about this and you're really ready to dive in and commit and say, I've had enough of struggling. I've had enough of hitting and bouncing along the bottom and trying to DIY and figure it all out myself. I'm tired, I'm frustrated, and I want to build a business that works. Click that apply now button, and we'll be there for you. We will have that call, we'll have that meeting, we'll do some strategy together, and we'll figure out how we can make this work so that you have the life, the lifestyle, and the business that you want. I just want to finish off by saying it ain't going to be easy. This is not a quick fix solution. It takes hard work, it takes commitment, and it takes persistence. But we're there with you, so we're not going to sugarcoat it. We're going to take you through it, and we're going to hold your hand, and we're going to help you implement this all the way through. I am out of breath, and thank you so much for hanging in with me. I know I threw a lot at you, but let's get into Q&A and see if we can spend the last 5 minutes here just popping off any questions for you.
Yeah, well, while we're waiting for that, I'll just share with all of you. We offer a significant return on investment. So, there's a level of investment to work with us, and our goal is that we help you to attract more clients so that you can make more money. This is, what we're offering to you is not so much a dreaded expense, more of a, we're trying to help you to uncover how you can financially do your business, to kind of invest in yourself and your business so that you can make that return. So I just want to mention that as well. Anybody have any questions they want to put in the chat? Be happy to stick around and answer them. I'll also mention, I bought a vehicle yesterday. I took my car into the shop, ended up leaving with a brand new vehicle, and they were having such great incentives. So Mark was talking about, what kind of special incentives that lenders are offering, and I was able to get 0% interest and no payments for 3 months. So little real life example there. Yeah.
And I think what happens is when we get our minds focused on, and Jamie and I both, and thank you, Jamie, by the way, for, as always, letting me dominate and take up all the airspace, because we tend to do that. We're a great team. I mean, we love each other, and we call each other our missing pieces because we just resonate. And that's one of the other things that that we talk about, is the idea of finding kind of your strategic partner or partners, people who are going to help you and support you, because working behind a computer can be a lonely job. And if you don't have that, that person, that sounding board, you can often get tunnel vision. So it's really important to form that. And that's why a coach is so critical. Personally, we use coaches, both Jamie and I, and we really need them. So they help us get into those blind spots in those areas of things that we don't know.
Cool. Kurt says, thank you.
You're welcome. Our
we don't have any
pleasure.
questions, and everybody's got what they came for, I hope.
That's great. Click the apply now button. We look forward to chatting with you, and let's see if we can help you build the business that you really, really want and get the outcomes that you're looking for. we're looking forward to having a one-on-one Zoom call with you. And the one thing, that I mentioned before, and that I'll promise you, and Jamie and I both promises you, we don't do hard sell. We don't use tricks and gimmicks. In fact, we're going to, as part of our program, as a client, we'll teach you how to sell with integrity, how to sell in a consultative way that builds relationships and ensures that both parties come out feeling like there's a win-win. And that's what we're looking for in our conversation. And if we can't determine that there's going to be a win-win between the two of us, then we will basically say, this ain't going to work. We're quite comfortable doing that. And we would rather say no and have you come back later, or be a friend or an associate or a referrer to us, than to have you feel like you're getting dragged into something. So know that when you meet with us, we're going to dive deep. We're going to go into some specifics about what you're doing now. And at the very least, you're going to walk away with some really good ideas that maybe you can implement yourself, or maybe you can find somebody else that resonates more with you. So you can think about that. So I'm not sure where we're at. We never even checked the numbers, the applications, until after a webinar. We might already be at capacity, but go ahead and give it a try. It won't reject you, even if we've got over 5 in there. We'll have to do that personally. But do apply now if you're curious and you're ready to commit and you want to move forward. And we will see you on the call. And at that, we will wrap up.
Wrap it up. It's 1 hour on the dot. So perfect.
One quick thing, I believe we still have it set up. When we end the webinar, you're going to get a quick feedback sheet, should pop up in front of you. We would be so grateful for your feedback. We pour a lot into these webinars. I hope you saw that. I hope you got value from this, and we would be so grateful for your feedback. So please just take a moment once we close and go to that pop-up will come up, and just please take a moment to give us your feedback on this. And let us know what you thought of it, and also other topics that you might want us to talk about. Thanks so much. And we will see you on our one-on-one call.